don't answer your questions today, please let me know. I've been doing this for a very long time now. I strategize on a community top voice. You call it maybe committee or team at LinkedIn headquarters as well. So very familiar with the new features on LinkedIn Community Voice, which I'm definitely going to give you some strategy behind today. This is definitely a heavy branding session. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to touch a little bit on content and strategy behind that. They really go hand in hand, right? So we can't do our branding unless we have our strategy. So as Chelsea said, I am based in New York City. I work with clients both virtually and in person. It's interesting. It was always virtual, and I'm starting to see people want that in person as well. So I'm going to walk you through whether you are a career professional or a business owner. This session is for both of you. And I would imagine from my conversation with Chelsea that it's very possible that you are both, right? I think we have evolved after COVID into this side gig community, which then in return, like my own personal situation, develops into something full time for some people, while for many of us, we like to do both of them, and maybe full-time entrepreneurship isn't for us. So I like to bring that point up because a lot of people come to me and they say, how could I possibly brand my LinkedIn for getting clients on the side, but also making sure that I am following up with what I need to comply with my social media standards at a company that I work for? I hear that a lot. Unfortunately, there are those corporations out there that sometimes ask you to change all of your branding to comply with the company. Technically, they can't require that. So if you are open to doing otherwise, I highly suggest that. The session is being recorded. And as we begin, I definitely encourage you to have your LinkedIn profile open, but probably not making changes as we're going. There's a lot to get through, and I want to make sure that you get as much value as possible. So I would suggest watching the recording again, possibly, but at the same time, taking some notes and then going back and implementing when you have some time. I explain each strategy. I'll take all questions at the end, but I want to make sure that you really understand the reason behind. And if we try to implement at the same time, it could get a little confusing. With that being said, as I go through this presentation, I will be going back and forth between the presentation and LinkedIn. Chelsea, Florida, if at any time you can't see LinkedIn, just let me know. But I like to actually show you which area that I'm talking about. I think that's really important. My terms for certain areas on LinkedIn I know are not necessarily public knowledge or common everyday vocabulary. All right, so a few things we're going to cover today. We already covered about me. We're going to go over profile optimization. What does that look like? You know, if you only have so much time to make these changes, or you want to know what are the key areas are actually impacting the algorithm, I'm going to share that today. Strategies for entrepreneurs and strategies for career professionals sometimes tend to overlap, but if there are differences, I am going to speak about those. And we're going to slightly hit on content and engagement strategy. That's kind of a whole nother pathway to branding, but it is important to know why you should go ahead and create content and engage when after this session, you're going to have this optimized profile, right? Super important moving forward. And the reason I got started, and I think my story is pretty important, is I was into really toxic work cultures. A lot of people tend to work with me because I've been through transition and because I've been in toxic work culture. That's my average client. And I say that because if you have questions at the end relative to a transition for branding on your career path, I can probably answer that for you. These are the different people that I serve and the services that I offer. So we will be covering all things relevant to this list today. The first area that I want to cover is that top box of your profile, which I am going to reference on LinkedIn right here. Just to confirm, is everyone able to see LinkedIn? Just want to make sure. Great. Okay, so this top box right here is what I like to call this area that ends right at this point. Is that necessarily the LinkedIn headquarter language? No, but it is that top area that LinkedIn is continuously adding features to. So when we're thinking about where do we need to spend most of our time, it would be like if we were looking at a website, right? So I had a colleague the other day ask me for a brand strategist. I sent her 3 different people and 3 different websites. When you're given multiple options or you're referred to somebody or you are a candidate in a pile, This is the first thing that somebody is going to see, just like they're going to get an initial impression from that first area of your website. So if you're a business owner here, you understand the importance of, is your website attractive and do I want to engage? And is it easy for me to take action? That is the most important part with this area. Whether you're a career professional or a business owner, this has to tell me exactly what you need me to do. And I think that's where a lot of people miss the mark. We can look at people with 50,000 followers on LinkedIn. They could have great content. They could create content all day. But if it is not clear as day what I need to click on to take action, I'm probably going to lose those people, or they're never going to pick me as a candidate for a job or hire me for services. And I'm going to break that down a little bit further here. I've outlined it in this section. So we're going to look at the banner area of LinkedIn here. The first thing we always want to make sure when we're creating these banners, and I recommend using Canva, it is free to do so, that we're leaving this area for a profile picture, right? I see a lot of banners where there's text or images here and it's overlapping. The other two areas that I see the most happen with banners that people make mistakes on is they create some kind of cityscape, right? LinkedIn gives us this option of a skyline. Why that's an issue for both business owners and career professionals is it's making me think that you only work in that area or you're only open to work in that area, right? And so what happens now in this virtual world is it's probably not the case in any situation that you wouldn't be open to remote work or you wouldn't be open to remote clients. So this is extremely important to avoid anything that would lead to location bias. The second thing that I see is somebody may just have something very generic like their name. And we're like, okay, are you open to opportunities? How do I even contact you? Something that a lot of people do not miss a lot of the time is they don't understand that a website or an email, depending on your browser, specifically with Safari, now lets us click a banner. This banner was not clickable for a very long time. And so I want to make sure that I point this out because many people, maybe don't scroll over your personal banner, others, but many of them do have links that you can click on. So if you're a business owner, I'm going to have this one as an example because I've worked on it myself. There's a few things that I want to make sure that you have and you know to put on your banner after today. The first, obviously, being your name, clear as day, right? We're on your profile. Why this is important is this is the first thing we see before we see any of this. This banner obviously is not affecting the algorithm. We're going to dive into what is affecting it down here. But when we're looking at our banner, it's the first thing we see, just like a website. So I am understanding what exactly it is that I do. I made sure to hit on all these key areas. I list my email. Many people may want to email me, right? If I'm getting speaking engagements, it's usually an outreach here. If you're a career professional, you would absolutely want to make sure that you have that on here as well. Now, business owners, LinkedIn added this amazing link down here a few months ago. There was never a link in this top box for us to click on. So we often had to rely on somebody typing in a long URL up here. Now it is clickable, and we can find that right in the pencil icon here. Another mistake I see a lot of the times, and this can also be for a career professional that is looking to utilize this space for a portfolio, for example. It could be a podcast. It could also be somewhere you've been featured. So not just for business owners, but also career professionals. Show us a little bit more. Show us you in action. I see them list the link, but they're not putting the verbiage associated with the link. So all of a sudden we see this URL. I don't know about you, but many times I've clicked on a link and it sends me to somewhere that all of a sudden I start getting security issues and I've unfortunately clicked on a wrong link. We have to gain the trust of whoever it is that is our audience. And the way that we do that is by telling people what they're going to click by clicking here, right? So apply for a free consultation. Career professionals, business owners always start with the verb on LinkedIn, right? So it could be view my portfolio, review my portfolio, apply for a free consult, learn a list of my services. I would prefer that it is something that's a little bit more action oriented, such as apply, for example. The other thing that I have here is if you are viewing a profile, I'm viewing my own, but if you are viewing mine right now, you're going to see a bell. I have Ring My Bell on my banner. You definitely do not have to do that, but I'm going to answer this question now because I get it a lot of the time is, what is this bell for? If you go ahead and you ring my bell, what's going to happen is every single time that I post something, it's going to give you a notification up here. A lot of people have rung my bell because I share a lot of tips, inspiration, things that can help them, right? So think of somebody that maybe came to me for services, can't afford it at the moment, but they're following me on LinkedIn so that they can still get that free value. That's a great place to go ahead and ring the bell. There's a lot of career professionals in corporate that create amazing content. There's a lot of recruiters. If you're a career professional and you see an active recruiter on LinkedIn, then I would definitely go ahead and ring their bell and try to get as much free value as possible that they're willing to share. There's this section up here that I like to call credible. It's our credibility area, right? We call this social proof on LinkedIn. It's the different areas that we've spoken for, we've been featured, etc. This is really valuable for business owners. It gains a lot of trust. For career professionals, you may have something very similar, but I would say this is mostly a feature for business professionals. Again, this area can be created on canva.com. Type in LinkedIn banner and you'll be able to customize from there. The second thing that's extremely powerful on this top box, there is a little speaker section here. This has to be done in the LinkedIn app. And if you've not actually downloaded the LinkedIn app, I would highly suggest it. The reason for that being is it's easy for us who are commuting back and forth, maybe we're working remotely, to engage on LinkedIn a lot easier than it is always signing on to the website version. When you go ahead and start to make these changes to your profile, however, I definitely suggest going on the website on your desktop or laptop, but we're able to edit this directly in the app by clicking the pencil icon, same section, in the app. This was originally created because people wanted to make it much easier to pronounce their name. I have a very easy name. You may not. So you can still use it for that, but I want it to be a call to action. If you're open to work, if you're unemployed or laid off, unfortunately, right now, tell people that you're open to interview opportunities. Have them see a little bit of your personality. If you are a business owner, then I would welcome you to use the same call to action we have down here in this area. And if you're somebody that's looking for work, but maybe you don't want your current employer to know, I think that's probably a lot of us. I know it used to be me. Then I would go ahead and use this section to just say that you're really open to networking with other people in your industry, right? Say you're in learning and development. Maybe we say, I'm open to always connecting with learning and development connections for a coffee chat or something along those lines. I'm going to go ahead and play this really quickly just as an example. If it will allow me. Perfect.
Thanks for stopping by. I'm ready to be your brand networker, whether you're a job seeker or a business owner. Schedule a free consult below.
Gives a speck of my personality. It makes me real in a world where AI and bots are developing, right? I've definitely caught that on LinkedIn profiles. And it tells them once again what to do. I'm constantly telling people, apply, apply. I'm making it easy. The other thing that you'll see here, and it will give you an option if you aren't, I would recommend today, even if you aren't going ahead and making those changes to your profile, to verify your profile. The reason for this is obviously hacking can happen. I've seen it happen to different people on LinkedIn. When you've developed this strong network and you've actually taken the time to brand your profile, you want to make sure that it's not getting shut down. You can go ahead and verify it here. Same thing on the pencil icon, much easier to do in the LinkedIn app. And you can go to this section using Clear or a variety of resources to verify that you are actually the person that this profile represents. All right, let's dive a little bit more into the algorithm. Where is the algorithm actually putting the most emphasis when somebody is searching for what it is that you do? If you are a career professional, a recruiter or hiring manager is searching the keywords in this section right here to find you. If you are a business owner, entrepreneur, say you do speaking opportunities, you offer a variety of services, same thing. Now, LinkedIn and Google work hand in hand from an SEO perspective. You may hear me use the word or the term LinkedIn SEO many times. This is literally what I'm talking about, and it works in a Google search as well. So the biggest thing to remember here, I like to make a list of every area of expertise, whether you're a business owner or career professional. Where do you thrive and what is it that you want to do and who do you specifically want to attract on LinkedIn? Those are your keywords. Sometimes I like to think about it as a web, right? Thinking about when we were in school and we had that web and then we kind of had to draw all the lines outward of what was related to that subject. Same kind of thing. So say, for example, you are, for example, I'm a career coach and then I offer these different services within it. That is how I want you to break it down, corporate or business owner. The other thing to remember here is that LinkedIn is a people platform. So I would never just want you to put, for example, L&D, learning and development, financial planning and analysis. You want to apply it to you. So you take your keywords and then you add a title after it. So for example, coach, consultant, strategist, writer, specialist. Those are all titles relevant to what it is that I do. Question I get sometimes with career professionals is, well, I always have, for example, learning and development specialist at Home Depot, using that as an example. Okay, but when somebody goes and searches at a recruiter or hiring manager, they're never going in and typing your company. And I've seen a few things on headlines, for example, where people put like X Meta, XX, like all these different past companies. That's not going to help you from a search technique. And they can already see where it is that you've worked from down here in your experience section. So what I would highly recommend is building that web, key areas, and then applying a title. LinkedIn last year greatly expanded this area. So now it is a much longer section for you to be able to optimize it as much as possible. Moving down a little bit further, we're going to hit on top voices after. This is a feature that will be going away, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Essentially, these are the topics of areas that you are speaking about on LinkedIn. It's creator mode, and creator mode will still exist down here, and you can turn it on. But apparently, from what I've heard, I think the hashtags may not be relevant in March, but I would still go ahead and turn this creator mode on. Okay, when it comes to location, another question I get all the time is, well, I'm not based right in the city, but I want an opportunity in the city, wherever that may be around the United States. Or I'm open to remote work, so I'm just going to say I'm in the United States. You want to get as specific as possible, but also not pigeonhole yourself too much. For example, I used to live in Atlanta, and there's a lot of different areas around the perimeter. One of those areas is Sandy Springs. Okay, or Decatur, for example. Those are not what I would put in my LinkedIn profile. The reason for that is it's going to limit me to that one area. But what I can do is say Atlanta, greater metropolitan area, New York City, metropolitan area. I am located right in the city, so I have that as New York, New York. And if you are, that's completely fine. But if you're in those smaller areas outside of a larger city, I would definitely pick the greater area, most relevant to the city that you're located in. Another thing that I want to cover is followers versus connections. I get this question a lot. What is this connect, or what is this follow button that LinkedIn added? I don't really understand. Should I follow or should I connect? When we choose to connect with somebody, we automatically follow. The difference between follow and connect is that when we follow somebody, we're definitely interested in their content. When we press connect, we're interested in being a follower, but also connecting with them on LinkedIn. There is a section that you will see at the bottom of your profile called Open to Work, and then also Open to Services. There's a button right here. This is essentially the Google of LinkedIn. If you are ever wondering while you're creating your LinkedIn profile, how do I do these things? This is a great area to reference. Everything can be found right here. It's all broken down. So if you're ever wondering how to add it, this is the section. Here you can add Open to Work and Open to Services. For career professionals, if you are worried that you don't want your current workplace to be able to identify that you are on a search, you're able to select recruiters only. And I think LinkedIn guarantees it's like above 90% that they're not going to market it to your company. A lot of business owners are missing out on this. If you're open to speaking and contract or part-time opportunities, this is a great area to also optimize, as well as the service button. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. Down here, there's something called a featured section. This is extremely valuable for business owners to once again make it easy to take action and tell us what it is that you want us to do. This is actually this workshop and another workshop that I have going on, as well as an interview that I did. You are definitely able to click on all of my links. There's typically only 2 or 3 here. I never really recommend more than 3 unless you have like 2 workshops going on here at the same time. An area for career professionals to optimize is to add a few links here to podcasts that you've done, portfolios, if you've been featured in an article, if you've been interviewed. A lot of client work isn't obviously public, but whatever we can share, this is an amazing area to add it to. Most importantly, We don't ever just add a link or a picture or a video. We always add text associated with it. All right, the second space the algorithm is drawing from is this area called the About section. What do I see out of 9 out of 10 times is that we've clicked the automated button, right? We're just gonna have AI go and do it and read our profile and create something for us. The biggest issue with this is that it's in third person. It should always be in first person. It's really easy to identify when somebody hasn't taken the time to build this out. My formula here is to basically draw the reader in, doesn't matter career professional or business owner. How can you A, draw me in, right? So think about if you're reading the back of a book before you actually start to read it, or B, how are you relatable? Again, I mentioned being in toxic work cultures. If somebody is coming to me, maybe they haven't actually decided it's toxic, but it usually is if you want to leave for some whatever reason. And thinking about if someone's interviewing different career coaches and they finally decide to make the decision and move forward with me, it's usually because I am relatable. That is the most important thing, even as a career professional. Can the recruiter, hiring manager relate to you? Maybe it's your passion. It doesn't always have to be something negative, but what is it that you have gone through that they want to hire you for? I speak about it a little bit more, but coming down here where that algorithm is pulling keywords is talking about what it is that I offer. So those are all relevant keywords. If you're a career professional, this can be areas of expertise listed. This can be your results. It can be your specific client names or types of clients. There's several different keywords that you can add. This should be the area that you are literally showing your skill set off, and I gave you permission to do so. I want you to brag about yourself. It will only ever help you on LinkedIn. If you are a business professional, sometimes I add a few testimonials down here. Most importantly, career professional or business owner, there's an area in this section telling people to connect. We don't want them going to look for email or social media handles. Make it easy. If you are a career professional that is looking for a job, but you don't want your current company to know, just say that you're open to networking with other people in your industry. If you are open to work publicly, you're laid off, for example, I would use this space to say that you're open to interview opportunities and making it easier for the recruiter or hiring manager to email you. The experience section down here, something that I see a lot of the time is people don't necessarily come to this section, and a lot of the times I see that they haven't fulfilled like the logo area. So they have all these big companies, right? Like Bank of America and Goldman, and they never actually tagged the companies, which means that when we do a search and we can't actually see that you've been there, or if people are searching for alumni or past company connections, you won't come up in that search. It also looks a lot more professional when we have all of our logos in this area. So I would definitely encourage you to come here and make sure that these logos are appearing. Do a double check. This should also be in first person for a career professional or a business owner. So come here and make sure that all of these different areas are listed. I always call this the extension of your About section. If you've taken the time to build out that About section, but it's only 2,600 characters and you couldn't fit everything, this is a great space to come here and tell us a little bit more. If you're a career professional and you have this experience space, I get the question a lot, is it just my resume? Yes and no. The first reason is because when we're working on a resume, it's in third person and it's brief, right? We can't fit everything. LinkedIn is essentially your file folder so that everything is here so that you will not forget it, such as your certifications, your courses, your actual projects that you've worked in each position. And so I would encourage you to add to this area, yes, what's on your resume, but change it to first person and then extend it a little bit more with specific examples and projects that can be shared. Coming down here to education, this is another area, a great area to build out a little bit more. A lot of people forget to add their certifications or their courses. Sometimes they forget to tell me like the memberships and the organizations that they've been a part of. I would definitely come to this area and build it out. The reason why is LinkedIn is also a network. People are coming here to find commonalities and those points of relatability that we touched on earlier. I was in a sorority, for example. Somebody may be searching for people who were in my sorority at a certain company because this is a point of relatability. When I'm working with career professionals, in the job search, I always go to those companies and I search for who are the alumni that are working at those companies so that we can connect and try to get an internal connection after we're applying for a job. If these weren't tagged, those people would not come up. Third place the algorithm hits on is your skill section. The number one thing I always see here is we're not using all 50. That's like paying for an ad and not using the full time that the ad can air, right? Say if you paid a couple $1 million for a Super Bowl ad and maybe they gave you 30 seconds, but you only used 10. It wouldn't make sense, right? So we want to optimize this full area. The most important thing here is that we use this pencil icon to reorder the top 3 skills, which we can do with this area here. That is what the LinkedIn algorithm is going to pay the most attention to. You do not need to reorder all 50. This is extremely important. And again, the third place the algorithm is pulling from. One of the number one most underutilized spaces on LinkedIn is this recommendation section here. I see so many people not using it. It doesn't matter if you're a career professional or business owner. It doesn't matter if you just finished a job or you were in the job 20 years ago or completed that business project 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. I want you to go back, just like we're creating that web in our notes on the side, and create a list of people that you can ask recommendations for. A goal for you to set is to have at least 3 to 5 by the end of the month. They have to be on LinkedIn and you do have to be connected to them. When people are searching for what it is that I do, if somebody types in career transition coach, I'm always coming up at the top of the search, not just in New York City, but across the country in California. I get told this all the time. Yes, everything I told you about all of these keywords is extremely relevant, but this is the other reason. It's just like when it's a Friday night, right? Tomorrow night, and you're trying to figure out where to go. If we type in Italian restaurant, those places, yes, distance factored in, but with the highest reviews are always going to come up first. I want you to think about you as yourself on LinkedIn with the most recommendations possible. If you're a career professional in your next position or current one, once you've been there for 6 months, that is the appropriate time without it raising a red flag for you to go ahead and ask for a recommendation. If you're a business owner, I highly suggest making this part of your offboarding process every single time that you offboard a client or you've been with them for at least 4 months. So we've covered profile. I'm going to go back to the presentation. We have covered all of this. Okay, so when it comes to content strategies that create visibility, there are a few things here that I find people aren't using. The first being hashtags. I always recommend 3 to 5 in any single LinkedIn post. The second thing is formatting. I'm going to show you some examples of why certain pieces of my content did really well. And frequency. I see a lot of people resharing. That does not necessarily benefit you. We think of LinkedIn as a reciprocal platform. And why this is important is we want to just not reshare, but we want to make sure it's also benefiting us. So for example, say expert session posts something and you want to repost it. Amazing. Don't just repost it. You would want to go ahead and create a piece of content above it within the same post and tag the organization, tag the people on this call. Tell us what you've learned. That will actually work better for both parties than ever just resharing something. If you're creating your own content, the number one thing I hear all the time is, I have to post every day. In my opinion, if you're posting every day, you're probably doing it wrong. That's not creating relatable content that allows us to sit and process it and create the most reach. When I create a LinkedIn post, I'm still getting engagement, meaning likes, comments, shares 3 weeks after the day that I post it. The way to think about it is once you've received enough engagement on a LinkedIn post and you are happy with it, and the likes and comments have stopped rolling in continuously, that's a great time to go ahead and repost. I post once about every 2 weeks at this point, sometimes every week, but I do it when it feels good, when it's relatable, and when I'm not going to lose engagement from a previous post because I'm then going and posting again. Engagement on LinkedIn. I see a lot of people say, well, I'm afraid to engage. I'm worried about what my company is going to say. You obviously don't want to say anything that's going to be controversial. I say stay away from politics and religion, right? It's not Facebook, it's LinkedIn. It's a professional place. Where can you be seen as the thought leader, whether you're a career professional or a business owner, right? You don't just get seen by your profile and you don't just get seen by your content. You get seen by your engagement. Sometimes people that I talk to aren't comfortable with creating content yet, and that's okay. We can go ahead and comment on other posts and other types of companies and organizations versus just creating our own content. The most important things when it comes to engagement is if you are creating a post, create it at a time and post when you have the first 2 hours available to go ahead and comment. A lot of people say, well, I can't just sit on LinkedIn. I'm by no means asking you to do that. Just download the LinkedIn app and use it during a time where you can at least comment maybe every 30 minutes and respond. That is how you are going to get the most engagement on your post. The second thing is engage on other people's posts, right? It's a reciprocal platform. So by commenting, you're helping that person, but you are also getting seen. I can't tell you how many times I have formed some of my best connections by who is showing up in the feed. Third is LinkedIn News. Hardly anybody is doing this. If you search LinkedIn News, you can go ahead and follow them, ring their bell, get alerts. I check this a lot, especially on a week that I don't have time to create content. Can I find a subject that somebody is speaking about that I feel like I have something meaningful to say? There was a post put out one time about all the reasons that people are leaving organizations and management was not listed. As you can imagine, in my field, I had a lot to say. And so by doing so, I took 5 minutes one day to leave a really powerful comment, which made, I think it was about 3 sentences at the time. And I got 257 likes and 37 comments on a really simple contribution. I also received a large following from that comment. So thinking about, and I tell this to all of my clients, how can we make LinkedIn work for you and your schedule? It should not be something that you have to add to the to-do list that always gets put to the bottom, but how can you integrate it really easily for 5-10 minutes a day for it to work for you all the time? Again, if you live in a city, the LinkedIn app is amazing because we can do that while we're on the subway or in between commuting. A few new LinkedIn features. So I want to touch on hiring and community voices. If you're a business owner here, I only hire through LinkedIn when I hire for small business owners. I find it attracts the best real candidates. I can verify everything internally. When it comes to LinkedIn Top Community Voices, this is the team that I strategize with on LinkedIn. Why it's powerful is because you're shown up as an expert. As a business owner, I use this as a selling point all the time with my clients. As a career professional, this is a really interesting thing to talk about during an interview with a recruiter that heavily embraces LinkedIn, right? So I want you to go ahead and think about as LinkedIn Top Community Voices as a goal for you before the end of winter, which is yes, right around March 21st. How can you make sure that by that time, that gives us a little over a month, how can you actively work on this to earn a top community voice by then? That is my goal for you. I'm going to show you a little bit more about top community voices in a minute and show you that strategy before we go over actionable steps. So I have this area right here called top career development coaching voice, right? There are several different areas on LinkedIn that you can focus on. And so there is this area here where I'm able to see all of the topics that are on LinkedIn. I'm going to pull it up in 1 minute. Okay, so when you search for different topics on LinkedIn, there is this general collaborative articles database essentially, and you can organize it by letter. This area started off with about 75 and now it's up to, I think, like over 400. So you can search by area of expertise. I suggest that you only contribute to one area to begin. So for me, obviously, I scan down to career and I think about, okay, what do I want to talk about? These are all AI generated. So you might notice that sometimes it's a little bit impersonal. So I'm going to come to career development coaching. That is my current badge. And I'm going to look at what is AI talking about right now. These are generated every 20 minutes, an hour, 4 hours ago. I like to choose the most recent. Okay. What are the top 3 strategies to get promoted at work? I can definitely speak on this and I feel confident about it. I then always suggest going to the first topic. Set SMART goals. I can talk about this. I understand what SMART goals are. So what I would want you to do in this area is leave a contribution of about 3 to 4 sentences. That's it. Something that you feel strong about. You can't promote yourself and you can't leave a link. That's the only thing. I always start off as, as a career transition coach, as a LinkedIn strategist. I do a lot of salary negotiation as a salary negotiation coach, right? Always give your credibility right off of the start so that people can feel like they trust you on the advice that you're about to give. What LinkedIn has added now is this section down here where we are able to click on you, follow, but it also gives us a little idea about what it is that you do. Still start off with that point of relatability because depending on the topic you're contributing to, it could change. Leave that 3 to 4 sentence and click add. I would suggest doing this at least 3 times per week. When LinkedIn starts to see a pattern of you contributing, as well as people liking your comment, LinkedIn's going to notify people in your feed, which is going to increase this area. They will eventually go ahead and award you with a top community voice badge. That is actually added by LinkedIn manually. You don't always get a notification, so check your profile. You can receive several badges. My point for you would be to start with one topic, stay consistent for 30 to 60 days, and you can earn these badges. Once you get a badge, you automatically have it for 60 days. But then you have to make sure that you stay up to date and that you're contributing. Like, for example, I contribute twice a week so that I do not lose that badge. This is where LinkedIn is going. This is a huge initiative, and it's an opportunity for you to show up on LinkedIn as a thought leader and for LinkedIn to promote you directly. So we have about 3 minutes before questions. There's a few things that I want to cover before we go to questions. I want to talk about your actionable steps now moving forward. What is it that you need to do? You just took your notes, you have your recording. I want you to do a couple things. I want you to work your network. Whether you're a career professional or business owner, use LinkedIn, right? We're going to use it for branding, but use your network, use your alumni, use your past connections from positions. I want you to go ahead and schedule informational interviews for your career professional. Look at the people who have worked at these companies you are interested in that are alumni or have worked at the same places that you have. I want you to obviously optimize your profile. Going along with this first bullet point, you absolutely need to get to 500 plus connections. That affects your search rate. Then I want you to create content and engage with your network, right? We talked about so many ways to do this. Downloading the LinkedIn app is going to make that so much easier for you to do, I promise. But do it as much as you can. It's always going to pay off, I promise. I've been in LinkedIn for a long time, been working with this with a lot of clients. It is going to work for you. Again, this is how I serve entrepreneurs, small business owners, career professionals. Everything is around branding, LinkedIn, and coaching. I have the link in my profile if you're interested in a consultation. There's also going to be an expert session link distributed with a 20% discount code for the people that are here today. I'm going to leave a little bit more time for questions that I make sure that I can answer them. Here's all my contact information. I would appreciate a follow on LinkedIn. I create a lot of content with tips as well as on Instagram. So thank you so much for having me. I hope that you found this extremely helpful and that I encouraged you to not think of LinkedIn as something that's intimidating, but rather something that can be a tool that'll make a significant difference in your career and or business.
Erin, thank you so much for all the insights. My mind is blown with everything that I did not know about LinkedIn and now have the awareness of. So thank you so much for all the insights and tips. We are breaking for some Q&A right now. So if you do have any burning questions, please do put it in the Q&A section here over on the bottom right. I will just Erin, if it's helpful, I can read it off the question and throw it your way. So we have Sarah in the room asks, is there a difference between the skills listed under each position versus the list of the 50 skills at the bottom of your profile? Or does it pull from the list of 50? I'm seeing so many people have skills listed under each job experience. This must be a newer feature in the past years because it wasn't there the last time I did a job update years ago.
Yeah, great question. It's a new LinkedIn feature. It is definitely not make or break. I would say for those skills, when you're adding the skills, it asks you if it's relevant to a position. I would put the positions, especially if it's something more recent that it's relevant to. It's more helpful from the career professional side than it is for a business owner for sure, but it's not make or break. Having those skills ordered, just the first 3, not all 50 will help you much more than associating them with each position.
Perfect. Next question here. Anonymous attendee. Thank you, anonymous attendee. Can you remind us how you put your website link in the header section under your profile pic?
Yes, great question. Coming back here to LinkedIn, there is this pencil icon located here. It can also be a button, doesn't have to be a website link, but it is located at the very button under custom button. You can edit it and then you can click link and you list your link. The most important part is that you're adding a verbiage of where it is going to actually take you so that we're guaranteeing the trust from our audience. Good question.
Beautiful. And for any current experts on Expert Session in the room, that's a great area to call out your expert profile link and say, book a one-to-one session with me. So I have it on my profile and hope it can serve you as well. Next question I see here is reposting with thoughts okay? I know you spoke on repost is not necessarily as impactful as posting original thoughts, but what about if you repost and add some of your own color and flavor there?
Yes, exactly. So that's exactly what you want to do. For example, if you saw like Adam Grant wrote an amazing post and you're like, wow, I want to share this. I want to share this with my audience. You would want to go ahead and insert your opinion above it. I would also, we only had so much time today, so we weren't able to cover this in full. When it comes to content, the most important thing here is drawing us in with something, again, just like that about section that is going to draw us in, tagging relevant organizations and people, and providing value, and then a call to action at the end, and then 3 to 5 hashtags. I'll talk briefly because I think this looks like the next couple questions for a little while about content. So I'll cover like the next 3 questions here, which is numbers. So when I click on a post, why these posts did well, here's a good example. This posted really well. This has almost 11,000 impressions. Why did this do well? We have this click see more button here. When someone saw this come up in their post, even though I'm talking to a specific group of people and not everyone is my client, I'm very careful to make sure that everyone is my client, right? I want anybody to read this. If somebody's creating a toxic work culture, I want them to read my content so they stop doing it, but I can't call them out and I can't be too negative. So I come out right away and I say a date. Why is this interesting? Everybody wants to know what happened on a date, right? We're naturally nosy. We're like, well, what happened on December 22nd? The second thing why this worked really well is people saw a picture of 3 suits. Most of us are not wearing suits anymore. I know at least this is the last time I saw mine. And I was at my childhood home and they were hanging in my closet because I thought maybe I might go back and I'm never going back. But they're here because I wanted to make sure that this drew people in, right? Suits maybe 5 years ago on a post wouldn't attract the same type of attention, but this is a subject that had been going on for a while. So this worked because of date, numbers, and then a photo. Here, I made it scannable, just like your about section, not these huge paragraphs. I don't expect everyone to come to my profile or a piece of content and read everything that I'm posting. But if I make it easy to go ahead and read and digest, it's very possible that they are going to read those sections. That's what I created here. I tagged Athleta because they have a program with ThreadUp. A lot of companies are doing this, and that's where I went ahead and donated everything. I had an interview with Rebecca from Insider. I called her out because she went ahead and gave me an opportunity. I gave her some credibility here. And then I left my call to action with my name here, making it easy for people to go ahead and click on my name and move forward from there, and then 3 to 5 hashtags. So again, this did very well. This is how all my posts follow. You can go to my profile and look at my content. This structure of drawing people in every time after I create a post, probably takes me about 30 minutes. I walk away from it. I go take a walk. I come back to it later the next day. And I ask myself a couple things. Does this first section up here, is it going to capture everyone's interest, even if they're not my ideal client? If you only worked with females, for example, or any specific type of gender, and you only target those people, this should still open up to everybody so that I get everybody's engagement. If we want to reach a certain gender, right, then the way to do that is to get everyone to engage with us, because then their connections will be able to see that type of content, and it would work vice versa in any situation. I see that a lot where people are just targeting one specific group, and that doesn't work because we're not getting our bigger reach. The other thing that's working really well here is a photo. A photo of you works really well, or just a photo that people are like, why are there 3 suits hanging from a dresser? I want to know more. Making it easy for people to come here and also click follow me. So I hope that's helpful, but feel free to review on my profile, which I think takes us down to Justin's question, Chelsea.
Yeah, perfect. Justin asks, would you describe or show again where you can access the LinkedIn article repository where the topics were cataloged?
Sure, I can actually, I'll give that to Chelsea and I'll send it out to everybody that's here. That's probably easiest. Yeah.
Okay, great. And
Um,
then
yes,
yes, if you want to take this one,
I'll get
Erin.
the link. Yeah, just because I'm here, I'll just show you. It's located right here. So if you click on it, it'll bring you to the console link. Okay, go ahead, next one.
Next one I see, is it correct to not have more than 5 hashtags?
So it's not necessarily a matter of is it correct or not. When we start to get out of 3 to 5 hashtags, LinkedIn, like, have you ever seen a post where people are tagging like 30 people in a paragraph or 30 hashtags? LinkedIn's going to bury those types of posts. A, because they look automated, and it's taking away from the content. So I'd rather you see, 3 hashtags that make a lot of sense that are relevant to your post versus 5, for instance. You never want to force it. That's where we start to see it become an issue more. I usually use 3 to 4. It's also good to not get more specific. Like, I don't ever post hashtag LinkedIn. It just has millions of followers and then my content's going to get buried. But if I use something like hashtag corporate transition, not just transition, right? I got more specific, then it's probably a good chance that and in that type of case that they'll be able to find my content better.
Perfect. Next question that I see here, how do recruiters feel about the green open to work badge on your pic?
Yeah, so that's great to use. It just kind of depends on your situation. If you're a business owner, I would still click recruiters only, because then that just leads to confusion, or people are like, are they selling the business? What's happening? Career professional wise, if you are in a position right now, be very careful of this and click recruiters only. We don't want people thinking that you're leaving your company, even if you are job searching. If you are laid off or your company has given you warning and you are allowed to post, you definitely 100% want that open to banner. It makes it way easier for a recruiter to find you. Good question.
And then I see a question come through in the chat. Could you demonstrate how to reorder the top 3 skills in the skills list?
Yep, good question.
I think
Okay,
that's
so
like
coming
our last one today.
yes, coming down here to the skill section. So it says show all 50 skills, right? Then there's this pencil icon right here. You would click on the pencil icon, and then you would click these 3 reorder. And then this section pops up here and we can just drag back and forth. Definitely do not drive yourself crazy and reorder all 50. Not a good use of your time. Just reorder the top 3. And something I'll just say in relation to that is I feel like a lot of people think, okay, I'm making these changes and it's permanent. LinkedIn is ever changing. I have a lot of repeat clients even because, as we talked about today with trends and LinkedIn top community voices, it's just always changing. And so it would be impossible for us to make things permanent when their features are changing. You'll even see like the featured section got pushed up. I heard recently that the about section is going to get pushed up. Our services area got pushed down, right? And so just know that whatever it is that you're changing can always be changed again.